While gods like Thor may get all the attention in Norse mythology, the Aesir, as the goddesses in the Norse pantheon of deities are known collectively, are nothing short of impressive. Here are 10 of the most famous Norse goddesses. Number 10. Ea. Widely regarded as the Norse goddess of healing, Ea is described as a Valkyrie by some and as a member of the Aesir tribe by others. In either case, she is an important figure in Norse mythology, particularly with reference to fighting, as Ea selects those soldiers who would survive conflict and recover from their wounds. Her duties are undoubtedly the most important to soldiers and others in this regard. Given that healing arts were almost entirely practiced by women in ancient Scandinavia, the fact that Ea is the goddess of healing in Norse mythology is illustrative of the periods in which ancient Scandinavians lived. Number 9. Freyja. According to Norse mythology, Freyja, also known as Freyja in Old Norse, was originally a goddess of the Vanir tribe, but she spent the majority of her time with the Aesir after being transported there as one of the hostages to keep the peace between the conflict between the two tribes. After the war was over, she was eventually acknowledged as an honorary member of the Aesir tribe. Freyja, whose name in Old Norse means lady, was the twin sister of Freyr and the daughter of Njord, two other notable Vanir. Freyja is frequently linked to pregnancy, sex, lust, conflict, and death. She is regarded as the goddess of both love and war. One of the most stunning of all the goddesses, it was thought that Freyja's tears could change to gold when she cried. She's said to enjoy poetry, music, and fine jewelry, and would frequently spend hours listening to music. She attracted a lot of admirers, and she was a stunning goddess. Gods, dwarves, and giants all admired her beauty. Number 8. Gethian. Gethian, often referred to as Gefjun or Gefjun, was a Norse goddess of agriculture, fertility, and abundance. The word Gethian is derived from the Old Norse verb gefa, which means to give in contemporary English. The prose Edda by Snorri Sturluson is where most of the information concerning Gethian is found. She reportedly set out for Sweden as a homeless woman at first, according to the report. She went before the king Gylfi, who promised to give her all the land she could plough in a single day with 4 oxen. She then called forth her 4 half-giant sons and changed them into oxen. They were so powerful that they actually carried the soil from Sweden all the way out to sea, where it formed the Danish island of Zealand, where modern-day Copenhagen is located. Number 7. Frigg. Frigg was the wife of Odin and the mother of Baldur. She was the most revered goddess among the Aesir people. For such a renowned Aesir, there is unusually little information about her personality. Since she was frequently referenced alongside Freyja in the sagas, the two of them are said to have descended from the early Germanic goddess Freyja. It is possible that they are only distinguished from one another by name. Frigg was portrayed as a user of the enigmatic form of Norse magic known as Sida. She was able to glimpse into the future and make adjustments to alter the course of events within its bounds. In one tale, Loki belittles Frigg and receives a warning from Freyja that she has the ability to perceive and alter the destiny of all creatures. Odin's wife Frigg was frequently left alone in Asgard when her husband traveled, as he did so frequently. Her extramarital relationships with slaves and even Odin's own brothers Vili and Ver were frequently mentioned. Number 6. Gulveg. The poetic Edda's account of the conflict between the Aesir and Vanir clans made mention of the Vanir goddess Gulveg. She was skilled in Sida, a form of Norse magic that allowed one to see into the future and alter fate, and she possessed strong magical abilities. This goddess is only referenced in the poetic Edda, where it is said that she was burned 3 times during the conflict, spear-stabbed by the Aesir, and then reborn 3 times thanks to her magical powers. Due to their similar skills and biographies, some academics believe that she and Freyja are the same person under a different name. Number 5. Hel. Both the poetic Edda and the prose Edda make reference of the goddess of the underworld known as Hel. She was the offspring of Loki and the giantess Angerboda, and in contrast to how she was portrayed by Marvel, she was meant to be a gloomy and brooding figure. She and her 2 brothers Fenrir and Jormungandr were exiled by their fellow gods after they learned of their existence and realized that since they were raised in Jotunheim, they had been foretold to bring trouble. She was sent to lead the realm of Hel, which shared her name and was situated below Niflheim. The deceased who passed away from illness and old age rather than dying in battle and going to Valhalla was sent here. Hel plays a role in the Baldur saga's The Death of Baldur chapter, where Hermodr asks her to bring Baldur back to life. She concurs, but only if each and every living thing in the 9 kingdoms did. Balder's brother was not allowed to accompany him on the way home because one Jotun giantess did not grieve for Balder. Number 4. Jord. Jord is not frequently referenced in the Norse sagas, but being the mother of one of the most well-known Aesir gods, Thor, she is significant in Norse mythology. She was a giantess and not an Anar's child. Throughout the Eddic poems, references to Thor's mother were made frequently, though frequently under different names. Since all of these names have the same meaning of earth, it is generally believed that they are different names for the same deity. Number 3. Nerfas. The Norse goddess Nerfas was regarded as one of the Vanir deities. Before the Viking Age began in the 1st century AD, a Roman historian wrote the first description of her when he described her in his Chronicle of Germania. Modern academics believe that this text shows she was on the Danish island of Zealand at the time. Due to the narrative of her traveling on a wagon, a custom shared by the Vanir gods, it is assumed that she is a member of the Vanir. The Osberg ship site is just one of many archaeological sites in Scandinavia where ceremonial wagons have been discovered. Every year it was thought the Vanir deity Freyja rode a wagon across the countryside accompanied by a priestess who would bless the fields and assure a successful harvest. There are many parallels between Nerfas and Njord, and it is believed that the word Nerfas is simply a Latinized form of Njord. Despite the fact that the two images resemble each other greatly, Njord was a male god, whilst Nerfas was a female. This makes historians think that either they are a hermaphrodite deity or that they are a celestial couple like Freyja and Frigg. Number 2. Idun. Idun was the goddess of spring and youth in Norse mythology. She was married to Bragi, the god of poetry and music, and was the daughter of a dwarf named Ivald. Other gods and goddesses also flocked to her for assistance in becoming immortal because she was claimed to possess the apples of youth, which kept her young and lovely for all time. One of the most significant allusions to Idun in the Norse sagas is found in the kidnapping of Idun, where Loki was compelled to strike a contract with the giant Thjazi to kidnap Idun and her apples and bring them to Jotunheim. Loki reluctantly agrees and tricks her into going with him by claiming there are more potent magical fruits there and she should bring her own to compare. The Aesir gods grew old and frail without her, feeling their youth slipping away. They threatened to kill him if he doesn't bring her back after learning that she was last seen with Loki. Loki was then given Freyja's hawk feathers, enabling him to change into a hawk and fly to Jotunheim to save Idun. Fortunately for him, the giant had left his captive alone while he went fishing. Loki took advantage of the situation by grabbing her and taking off. The giant was furious when he came back and changed back into an eagle to pursue him. The other gods created a massive wall of kindling around the stronghold that they lit as soon as Loki entered as they were drawing near Asgard, and the behemoth was quickly approaching Loki. The giant died after flying directly into the scorching flames because he was unable to slow down in time. Number 1. Sigyn. Another Aesir goddess named Sigyn was the mistress of the conman Loki. Despite Loki having other children outside of their marriage, they only had one son together, Nafri. The name Sigyn is believed to be derived from the Old Norse terms Sig and Vinna, which respectively mean victory and friend. As part of their punishment for Loki, they transform Vali, Baldur's son, into a gigantic wolf who tears out Nafri's entrails in the legend that describes Baldur's demise. The other gods use them to bind Loki as they soon become hard and transform into an iron chain. The last element of the punishment involves dropping poison from a snake held above him onto his head. As she sits with Loki and holds a bowl above his head to catch the poison, Sigyn demonstrates in this story how faithful and devoted a wife she is. Loki would writhe in agony and generate earthquakes throughout Midgard when she had to go and empty the bowl, despite her best efforts to stay as long as she could.